People, it's your boy Dev with DP, and we are back for another session of Real Talk with DP and Dev. As you can see, I'm on location. It's been like that for the past couple of weeks, but it's all good. We got a good show for you today. We're going to talk about some real estate stuff. We're not going to be on too long. We're just going to drop a couple of gems so that you can go ahead and be blessed and also be able to use that to be successful in your business. Before we move forward and continue, we just want to also say that this is brought to you by Independent Capital Group, independentcapitalatl.com, independentcapitalatl.com. Trained professionals there to help you with your investment needs as well as your credit monitoring, repair, and credit restoration. Both of those things are needed in order to be successful in terms of real estate and just wealth management. So again, for more information, go to independentcapitalatl.com. independentcapitalatl.com. Independent Capital Group, black owned for black people who want to make green money.
What's up, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm making it happen, man.
See, you got down there in the sticks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Man. Sometimes I got to do what I got to do, man. So good thing about technology, even though my technology is a little choppy and a little spotty, but it's all good. We're gonna push through.
Yeah. We haven't done a real estate show in a minute. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to get back to the roots, and especially with all these gurus out here charging folks thousands of dollars to get this information. So we figured, oh, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? Let's give it away for free. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it's nothing like, just having free game, man. And I mean, the stuff we're going to tell you, it's not like you can't find it. You have some people, and I'm not knocking them, but you got some people who will give you a tease and be like, for more, subscribe to our page or, subscribe to our, subscribe to our manuals and toolkits and everything else. And,
and that's
their thing. Yeah, I'm not knocking that.
Yeah, but it's always an upcharge. You think you get one thing, and then you pay for that, and then you got to pay for something else to get part of what you really wanted, and then it spirals out of control, and you end up spending thousands of dollars before you actually get the information that you initially thought you were buying.
Right. Before and that's the name of the game, right? When it comes to any business that's subscription based, they want to try to reel you in with the basic package of whatever it is, and then get you salivating for more. And again, we're not knocking that, but that's not what we intended to do this for in the first place. When we first started this, we wanted to just help our people in any way we can. We wanted to put them on to how they can invest in real estate without going through the ups and downs, ins and outs of the whole process, but just be a part of it. And that also includes training and education. Whatever gems and game that we have, we're willing to give it free of charge. So, DP, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to talk about the real estate game. We're going to talk about wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to start off with the business, how to actually start the business. Because that's one part of the game that most people don't tell you, that you actually got to create a company.
Yeah.
Because even before you go get loans, most lenders want to loan to a company, not an individual.
Not an individual, right.
Yeah. So create the company, create the right type of company based on what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it.
All right, cool. So DP is going to go ahead and share his screen, and hopefully this is the first time he's doing this. So hopefully it works out for those who are viewing. And also, again, thank you for viewing. Subscribe to all of our pages if you haven't already. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So let's get into it. But yeah, we're going to talk about the business part of it, because a lot of misconceptions is that you have to truly, just go crazy in terms of a business name and everything else. In actuality, you don't. I've seen entities create a business name based on the street that the property was going to be on, for example. So if there was a property that DP and I saw and it was on Crenshaw and Myrtle, I'm just making it up, right? We can actually create a business called Crenshaw and Myrtle Holdings LLC specifically for that property. And it's not one of those things where it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. And yeah, that's pretty much one how it starts. So as
Can,
DP goes to the slideshow, I can see it. If you
okay.
just go ahead and press play, we should be able to see full screen.
Okay. All right.
All
There we go.
right. Yep. So go ahead, next slide, please. All right. So as we said, we're gonna go over introductions as we already did. We have a few modules here, as you can see. We're not going to be on all night. We're going to break this up into 4, maybe 5 sessions throughout the upcoming weeks. But the first thing we're going to talk about is business formation. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So one of the advantages of managing real estate, like we've already talked about this numerous times, but one of the things that you do want to be mindful of is when it comes to your taxes. When you own real estate, it actually is treated as an investment property, and investments actually help you with your tax benefits as opposed to hinder you.
Yeah, real
So
estate is probably one of the best tax advantage vehicles you can
right,
be in.
right. So when you look at Trump or a lot of big time real estate investors, a lot of times they get a lot of different tax breaks because of the investments and holdings that they have. So go ahead, DP.
And the little guy too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, like if even with one investment property,
Yeah.
that will be able to kind of put you in a place that you may not have been in before, just based off of that. A couple other things that it allows you to do when you have an investment property is you actually are able to reduce your personal exposure to risk and liability, meaning that if something was to happen with the investment property, you don't necessarily have to lose your shirt in terms of your personal finances and everything else if you do it right. If something was to happen, everything and you was to be liable for whatever, or if there was some type of litigation that was to occur, it would be through the business name and not necessarily you or your personal holdings or anything you got going on with your family.
So that's the main reason you got to incorporate, become a limited liability, so you can separate that liability.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Next slide. All right. So this is kind of DP. Do you think you can go ahead and for the people who's looking, they may not, can you zoom in a little bit? If not, it's no big deal. But all right, come over a little bit. There you go. Yep. So when you want to go ahead and decide to, let's talk about beginning your business, right? First thing you want to do is decide, what your name of your business is going to be. And as I just mentioned, it doesn't have to be something that's extravagant. It can be pretty simple, right?
You know, a lot of real estate business names are for a particular property because they may
Right.
have a partner on one property and then a different partner on another property. Like you were saying, the business name may just be the address of that house. You know,
Mhm.
LL. You know,
Yep. Yep.
so don't get caught up in the name. You know.
Yeah, that's the last thing you need to get caught up in. Keep it real simple. And a lot of times when you do it that way, you don't necessarily have to worry about somebody else having the same name as you. So
Yeah.
if you found a property and it was like on 1174 Princess Avenue, you can just say 1174 LLC. And more times than not, you're not going to find somebody else with that name. So it makes it easier as opposed to something that like Brixton, like this hat. You can say Brixton LLC, where you know that people, other entities have that name, and you may run into a problem when it's time to actually get it. So you don't want to do that. So keep it as simple as possible. Agree on ownership and member percentage. So this is important. A lot of times, unfortunately, in Black businesses, we start our business and we're doing very well, but we fail in the area when it comes to infrastructure, administration, and paperwork. A lot of times when you are trying to, get grants, loans, anything along those lines, or if you needed to just do anything legally, um, and your paperwork is not right. Perfect example. There was a grant that was that was given by the Village Micro Fund, right? DP. Shout out to Dante and Harriet who are
Yeah.
owners and operators of the Village Micro Fund. Well, in the city of South Fulton, they teamed up. The Village Micro Fund teamed up with the city of South Fulton, right? And they was giving money away, and we're talking about in excess of $20,000. As a matter of fact, that grant proposal may still be available for those who are watching that's in the city of South Fulton. Well, when I was talking to Harriet, one of the things that she was running into was a lot of businesses were not up to date on their paperwork or didn't have the proper paperwork in place, whether it be tax returns, whether it be operating agreements, whether it be business licenses. So all of those things are pretty important. And when it comes to your operating agreement, your articles of incorporation, and your articles of organization, you can receive those templates online. You don't necessarily have to go to a legal, you don't have to go to a lawyer or through
Yeah,
legal
legal
per se. You can actually do them yourself. Go ahead, DP.
yeah, because a lot of that stuff is going to be basic. It's not going to be that extensive and really, it's going to be real generic.
Right.
Unless you have 20 partners and you guys are putting in tens of hundreds of thousands a piece, and you got a bunch of different moving parts. If you got one or two people, it's going to be a cookie cutter type of situation. So once you do one, the next one is basically just changing names and dates.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of this is what lenders are going to be requiring. They're going to want to see operating agreement, articles of incorporation.
Yep.
Because they're going to want to know that this company is legal for one, and is in good standing with the state, that what the state is out of.
Right. Even with like PPP loans, EIDL loans, you need all this paperwork in order for you to even submit and be considered to receive those loans and grants. And again, you can Google it. Like, if for those who are watching right now, just Google operating agreement template or articles of incorporation template, and you'll see a bunch of things come up that are coming in a Word document that you can download on your computer, and you can just go ahead and modify it accordingly based on whatever your business is.
Yeah.
So as we move forward, the next thing that you need to do is decide your legal structure. Now, DP or nor I am a lawyer, so
Or an accountant.
or an accountant, right? So when it comes to determining what type of business structure you want to create, you want to do your own research, see what best fits you, and then you may want to talk to your accountant, somebody whoever does your taxes, or you may want to hire a lawyer, or for those who may have prepaid legal, or if DP has legal services as well, through Primerica. So this is something that you can look into and take advantage of to determine what's the best business structure for you, because all business structures are not the same, and it may not fit your business based on what it is that you're providing in terms of goods and services.
But
DP?
if you're a one person, two person operation, you're doing one or two houses,
Mhm.
99% of the time you will be an LLC, but
Right.
you still need to talk to whoever does your taxes and just get some feedback from them.
Yeah, because there's different tax breaks for different things. Like a sole proprietor, you're going to get hit over the head in terms of taxes a little
Yeah.
bit differently as opposed to if you was a LLC. And then if you was even an LLC, are you going to be an S corp or a C corp? There's different type of structures that you want to get yourself familiar with before you go ahead and dive all the way in. So when you decide what your name is, you reserve it through the Secretary of State. The link is there, and you'll be able to
Don't pay those folks hundreds of dollars to
yeah.
do that, because they're going. It's really a plug and play. I mean, it's there, or if you get to the right page on the Secretary of State website, you just input your information, and it's a simple process.
Yep, and I think you're paying no more than about maybe $125 to register the name, I believe.
Yeah, in Georgia.
Yeah, in Georgia. Now, for those who are looking out of the state, I can't speak for what other states, like our people in South Carolina, our people in New York. I can't speak for that. I could just speak for Georgia. And then EIN number. Now, this is important, because if you see somebody, or if somebody try to say, "Hey, I can get you an EIN number for $500. Run away. Be like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I don't really. I'll figure something else out because you don't pay for an EIN number. You go on IRS website and you go through the different prompts, and they'll give you an EIN number free of charge. And your EIN number is the foundation for your business, especially when it comes to doing your taxes. So it's like a social security number, but for the business.
Definitely, definitely.
And last thing on the slide, it says apply for your state tax identification through the state of Georgia. So again, some businesses you don't necessarily need this. Um, for those who are selling goods, it probably would be in your best interest to get this number and get your certificate with that because, if you're trying to do something wholesale, this is something that they're going to want to see. You may not necessarily need it though for investing in real estate and just establishing an entity for acquiring, buying, and selling real estate. So next slide.
Are we stuck?
Are we? There you
No.
go. All right. So when you decide to begin your business, you open up a business account. This one is really to your discretion. This is what I would say when it comes to that. It probably is in your best interest if you can, depending on what you're doing. Now, if you're thinking about purchasing real estate and purchasing investment properties, then more times than not, we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars that's going to be going in and out of your account. So if you're going to do that, it's important. It's probably in your best interest to open up a business bank account to separate your business finances from your personal finances, especially when it's time for tax season. A lot of times when I first started, I had my business finances mixed with my personal finances, and it just was a headache when it's time for tax season, trying to separate them out, trying to see what your expenses are and all of that. It's just easier for you to be able to just set your business account up so you can easily track your items and itemize, break down your stuff for your accountant when it's time to do your taxes. DP?
And the other the other thing about having a business account separate from your personal account, the intermingling of funds, it negates the corporate shield of vest that you have. And if somebody sues the business and your personal money and business money is intermingling, then
Hmm.
you don't have that corporate shield anymore. They can actually go after your personal
Right,
uh, assets as well.
right, right. So now let's talk about insurance because this is another big thing that a lot of times, unfortunately, as Black people, um, we kind of look over and glance over. Professional, general, and workman's comp. More so, professional liability, general commercial liability. Those are very important for your business. If something was to go wrong and somebody was to sue you or they wanted to say that you was liable for something, if you don't have insurance in place and you're just going to come out of it, you're going to come out of your bank account more than what you would like to. To avoid that, it's in your best interest to set your insurance up in the beginning of your process as opposed to later on. DP?
Yeah, and, and one thing that lenders do, hard money lenders do to kind of help the purchaser, they require them to have it's builder's risk policy,
Risk policy, yeah.
general liability included in that policy. So they kind of help you not hurt yourself during this process, because at the end of the day, they want to see you be successful because the more times you come back and borrow money for them, the more money they make.
Right. Can you share a quick story, DP? Like, the relationship you have with like some of the hard money lenders you have. Like at this point, in some instances, you don't even need to go through a series of hoops like somebody who's just starting would because of the relationship that you already built.
Yeah, like Tucky here in Atlanta, I just send them over whatever deal we looking at, and they'll tell me yeah, nay. And if they say yeah, it ain't all about pulling the credit report and send your bank account statements and this, that, and the other. Everything that the average lender will want, they're like, okay, I assume you got the money in the bank, so let's just get it clear to close and let's go to
Mhm.
close. As long as the numbers work out.
Right, right. So as we continue to move forward with that, so that's important. So two of the things I want to reiterate before we go any further, especially with our people in business, make sure that your paperwork on the back end is straight in terms of your articles. Get your articles in order, make sure all that's above board and good money. On top of that, make sure your insurance is in place. A lot of times we fail, unfortunately, now, and I'll continue to say it. I know it'll be a broken record, but I've seen it happen a few times. Our stuff don't be in order in terms of paperwork, and I don't want to see my people struggle or fall by the wayside with a good thing that they're doing because they don't got their paperwork right. So make sure
And
that your stuff is in order.
yeah, and it's easier to do it in the beginning than trying to catch up later on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we continue to move forward, we talk about, let me just jump down before we go into further in the brand. A DUNS number. DUNS number is Dun and Bradstreet. Now, that number really is used for more of government contracting per se. Like if you was looking to get into government contracts or doing any type of government work, whether it be federal or state, your Dun and Bradstreet number is used to kind of look at your credit history on the government side. And when you're purchasing items, whether they be goods or supplies or whatever, you want to use your DUNS number. And that is what government contracting officers look at. They look at, if you're registered in sam.gov, which can be another class for another day, but they also see if you have a Dun and Bradstreet number. So for more information about that, just hit me up in the comments and we can talk about that offline. It doesn't really apply for what we're doing with real estate investing, but for those who are trying to get government contracts, that's something that you may want to pay attention to.
Now, what Dun and Bradstreet can help them with, um, lenders, as in hard money lenders, they don't look at that. They look at your credit score and your experience. But if you're trying to develop credit like with like a Home Depot with your company name, then they tend to look at the Dun and Bradstreet and the Experian business.
Business, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to have an 80 paydex score in the Dun and Bradstreet. So therefore, when you're applying as a business for a business line of credit with those companies or business credit card, your score is where it needs to be. Now there's other factors that come into play, like credit history. So if you just new to the game and you trying to go get a business Home Depot credit card, they may or may not allow you to get it. Depends on your credit score and whether they may let you do it if you want to be a personal guarantor.
Right.
But if you want to just get it strictly on your EIN number, then you're gonna have to do a little bit more legwork to shore up your credit report before you go out and just start getting stuff on your business EIN number versus your social security number being attached to it.
Right. Right. So let's talk about further in the brand, right? So, branding is one of those things that some people are really big into it, some people are not. Branding can go a long way, but I would just say for those who are starting out and get into it, I wouldn't put too much stock and investment into it right now once you're getting, on your feet. You know, I think you can have a really good balance in terms of your branding and everything else. But the foundation needs to be there first in terms of your paperwork, in terms of your insurance, and even bringing revenue in. Once you start really getting your feet wet, you can increase your branding strategy. Um, and logo creation, you can go to Fiverr, Upworks, do it yourself. Establish a company email. These are things that you can actually do gradually along the way. These are one of those things that you don't necessarily have to do on the front end, and you can just pick things up as you go.
But that everybody want a hot logo and
I know, man.
so they can get the business cards out. Everybody want that.
Yeah, man, hot logo. I mean, a hot logo is a hot logo, but yeah,
It don't earn you no money just because you got a nice logo. You know what I'm saying? That's
mm,
an expense.
yeah. Like, look, man. Like, I know a businessman. It was a restaurant, and it was dope. They had a good product. It was in a great location. It had everything running, everything clicking on all cylinders. But they wound up closing down because all of their back of house stuff wasn't in order,
Mm.
and they got hit on the head when it came to the taxes. So, you know, a hot logo is dope, but it can only last so long if your foundation's not solid. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right, DP,
So
let's talk about wholesaling.
yeah, wholesaling. You know what I'm saying? Wholesaling, and you hear all this stuff about wholesaling. You see these videos, these ads. People charge a lot of money to teach you how to be a wholesaler, but they're going to tell you the same thing as someone who charge you $500 as, as a person who charge you $5,000 for the same information, because
Mhm.
there's only so many things you can do as a wholesaler. And a wholesaler really is just a wholesaler contracts a home with the seller,
Right.
finds an interested party to buy it. Then the home seller contracts the home with the buyer at a higher price than with the seller. And then the difference is his profit. So basically it's two contracts. A is the wholesaler,
Hmm.
A is the seller, B is the wholesaler. Then that's one contract. And then the
So
second
so let's
contract,
let's break that down. So all right, so I'm the
if you're the
seller,
home
I'm the homeowner, I'm the
with the
homeowner, and Babby
seller,
is the wholesaler.
yeah.
All right.
So Babby calls you up, say, Dev, um, roll by your house. You know what I'm saying? I see your house needs a lot of work done to it. Are you interested in selling it or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And you say, yeah, I don't have the money to put into the house to do the rehab, this, that, and the other. So, yeah, make me an offer. Before the pandemic, Babby may come by, take a look at the house and say, hey, your house needs about 30, 40,000 dollars worth of work. It's only worth 150.
Mhm.
I can give you 50,000 cash for your house. But when you say cash, that only means that it's a quick sale. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that Babby's going in his pocket to get 50 grand right then and there to give to this guy, because he still got to do his due diligence.
So
Got to
let me ask you this question. Why would, if you said the house is worth 150,000, right?
yeah,
Why would I be good with getting it for 50?
because of the condition the house is in.
Okay.
So the average realtor don't want to deal with a house with that's, even though if it's renovated, the house may be worth 150, but the condition it's in now is nowhere near that, because if you got to put 40,000 in it, that's with somebody who got some vision coming in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The realtor don't want to be showing that house, because the realtor probably got to run 100 people through that house to get one buyer who, okay, you know, and the commission that the realtor is going to get is what, 3,000, and then they got to split that. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth their time. So depends on that homeowner situation. He may just be like, all right, I don't owe anything on the house anyway. I'm elderly. I want to move into a senior home. If you're gonna give me 50 grand and I can walk away from this thing because I'm putting money in this money pit every week,
Mhm.
something's breaking, you know. And there's different situations. For instance, the house may be vacant and you get in contact with the kids, the parent may have died. You know what I'm saying? The kid may be in New York, in Atlanta. They're
Mhm.
not planning on moving back, but they just got this house sitting here. Yeah, if you made me an offer, I'm not coming back to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? My life is in New York with my family.
Right.
So yeah, I'll take the 50. And you still gotta, you tell them, yeah, cash, but cash don't mean we're going to the closing table tomorrow.
Right.
It just means that I'm not getting an appraisal done, and it's not subject to the appraisal appraising the property at a certain value. You know, I know the numbers are under what the value is because we know how much we should know after we do a walkthrough a
Hmm.
ballpark figure of what the renovation is going to cost.
Right.
And we
Right.
should once the ARV, the after renovation.
Yeah. After renovation, after repair value.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we should know that. So Babby got the contract with the homeowner. So now he got his contract. He don't have the 50,000 to buy it. Now he has to find a buyer who has the 50,000 and want to buy that type of property.
Right.
So that's where the BC contract coming in. The B is the common person in both of them.
Right.
Babby, wholesale.
Hmm.
You know. So in this example, he's selling the house for 50. Babby got a contract for 50 with the homeowner, and now he finds a buyer, me, and I said, "Well, I'll give you 60,000 for it." He makes a profit of 10,000 just
Okay.
for writing contracts. You know what I'm saying? And finding this guy, or finding this lady who wants to sell this property, because that's the key. The key is finding the person who wants to sell a property. You know, you can always find. Well, I think it's much easier to find a buyer if you got a good deal
Mm.
versus finding a good deal. You know, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but
Hmm.
wholesalers characteristics. You got to have the ability to talk to strangers in person or on the phone.
Right.
You cannot have no fear of rejection. You got to have that salesperson mentality. It's a numbers game. So once this person tell you no, don't call me no more, you got to pick that phone right back up and call the next person and get the same angry person because 50 people already called him about the house that he already told them that he don't want to sell.
Right. So interestingly enough, I get a lot of calls for my house now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not just calls, it's like texts.
Mhm.
And one of the texts to say, in your market, X, Y, and Z. You look at matter of fact, here go one right here. It says, "Hi Devin, based on recent trends, your new open door preliminary offer is X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
So
And Open Door is a major player in the industry. You know, and
mhm.
that's a commercial buyer. You know, so imagine how many people get that text a day. You know, could they
Right,
have the advertisement budget to outdo anybody? Just
right,
about.
right, right,
So and you got to have that almost like a car salesman type of mentality as a wholesaler because regardless what the last person told you, you got to shake that off and get right back on the phone and be like, all right, next.
hmm
You know,
absolutely.
and you got to be persistent. You know, you got to call the same person every month until you get a yes or no. You know, because let's say somebody just went through a divorce
Yeah,
and so they had two incomes coming in the house at one time, so
mm,
everything was fine. Now they got one income in the house, and
right,
now the husband he may have to pay alimony, you got to pay child support, you got to pay this that. So the first couple of months after the divorce, he may be fine, but once that what I'm saying without that second income and now more money coming out of his finances going somewhere else, you know, in 3 months he may be like, "Nah, I can't afford this house no
you can't
more."
afford that no more. Right, right,
But you gotta talk to him once he makes that decision. You know what I'm saying? Because he may not have been there when you first initially contacted him.
right,
You know,
right.
and that is like even a widow, same thing. No insurance. You know what I'm saying? Coming in after the husband or the wife died, now that income is cut in half. Same situation. The first 1 or 2 months, that's fine. But that third, fourth, even a year later, they may be like, yo, I may not even need the space. You know what I'm saying? The house may be too big, even if it's not finances.
So let me ask you this, DP. So let's because maybe a question may come up. When it comes to wholesaling right now, you said that I can give it to you for $50,000. Now the house you said is worth 150. Now is
After
that
repair value.
after repair value? So what about what it's worth? Like what if I say, yo, I just got it appraised though, and right now it's 125 is worth $125,000.
So again, it's a timing thing. You let
Right.
them. All right. So call your realtor and let them put them on the market.
Mm,
Once the
got
realtor walks to the house and a $25,000 swing is not a $40,000 renovation job. That's like paint and carpet.
hmm
But if you're talking about you got 40,000, you got the electrical problem, you got the plumbing problem, you might need to redo a bathroom completely. Got it. So once that realtor walks to the house and tells me, hey, you got this not gonna sell for 125 the way it is. You need to put about 15, 20, 30,000 just to get it to, bare basic functional.
got
Then going to change their mind about, okay, do I have 15, 20, 30,000 to put in it today to
right.
get 125?
Mm,
Or, and some people may not even owe a mortgage on their house.
right, right, right.
Everybody has a different story, so it just depends on being in communication with that particular person at that right time. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Okay. So how could I get started in wholesaling? Like if I wanted to just get started in wholesaling like right now.
Wholesaling, all right. It don't take a whole lot of money. That's why wholesaling is one of the fastest growing sectors of real estate, because for about $500 to $1,000, or you can go work for one of these wholesaling companies and make calls all day. Um, you can get some postcards printed out of Vistaprint, something like that.
Hmm
In the same postcards I get every day. Um, hey, seeing the Peterson properties, saw your property at North Avenue. Wondering if you're interested in selling. If you are, we can give you a cash offer. We can close in as little as 14 days. Give us a call. And that's all the postcards say. I mean, every verbiage is a little bit different, but that's the gist of it. Or it may be a yellow letter that you get in the mail that
Right.
looks written, but it's computer generated.
Now, as a wholesaler, I don't need to have my real estate license, right?
As of now in Georgia, you don't. But some states are changing the laws because the uh, real estate agents, um, what's their lobbies, the lobbyists,
Lobbyists in DC.
yeah, they're making us think about it that hey, these wholesalers are selling a lot of our houses, and that's taken away from our inventory. So
Hmm
we as realtors are not making as much money. I don't have as much inventory because you letting these unlicensed wholesalers, sell houses.
hmm
We had to go to school. We had to pass the test. We got to pay this fee every month. We got to do this continuing education. We got all these expenses, and you letting these guys come, just who sent a letter, put up a bandit sign on the side of the road, or just made a cold call
Or
and
text.
contract.
Hmm hmm
He may make 10,000 on a house, and for the same house, a realtor on either the buyer side or the seller side may have only made $2,000 or $3,000.
So that's an interesting thing, right? Because you're right. Wholesaling can be very lucrative, and you don't need much. I mean, you really $500 can really net you 10,000. I mean, that's not hyperbole or anything. It's just that's just a fact. But there's a lot that goes into it. You really do have to have a seller's mentality. You really do have to
It's
uh,
not
get
for
your
everybody.
phone call and just be on the grind daily, pretty
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
and you may not get your first deal for 3, 4, 5, 6 months
hmm
because that first set of postcards you sent out, they wasn't feeling the pain yet for whatever their situation was. So it may take them 6 months to feel that pain. And if you sent those cards out, you got their name off of a list. So that list is not dedicated to you. whoever
Right.
sold you that list sold that list to many other people.
Right. Right.
So you're not the only card that they got. There's going to be something about either when you contact them or when they called you after they got the card, something about you that made the connection to them, or something, or the number that you gave them was much better than everybody else.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
because if they got 10 cards sitting on their kitchen table when they're ready to sell, how are they gonna know which card is you, and why would they call your card versus the other nine?
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wholesaling can be very lucrative. We've had Eli on. He's a
Yeah,
wholesaler.
we had a couple of people
Yeah. And they make Sion. Sion is
on.
doing some amazing stuff. Him and his wife, they do wholesale. That's how they met, wholesaling.
Wholesaling. Yeah.
You know, but it takes a certain person. Do not go out here and spend $500,000 on a wholesaling course if you know you're not that person. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. You really got to have that seller's mentality.
Yeah.
And
I tried to do it, but you got to not only have that selling mentality, you got to be able to block out 2 or 3 hours every day, the same time, get on the phone, go through that spiel, go down that list of numbers, where even when you get the list of numbers, the numbers may not be correct.
right.
Certain numbers are going to be wrong because there's no guarantee on these lists. So you're paying for the collection of data, whether the data is correct or not. That's you paying for it. What the effort that they put into collecting it. Whether
Right.
there's no guarantee on it,
Right.
and
Right.
and you got to be able to do that every day.
Hmm.
So even on that 10th day and nobody said yes, that 11th day you're gonna have to be like, yeah, suck it up.
Yeah.
It ain't easy. I gave up on that. Like that ain't.
Hey, DP, let me ask you, what are some of the tools? Because somebody, people may know, people may be like, let me look into this, because I may be that person. What are some of the tools that a person who wants to get into wholesaling will need?
Some of the tools you need to. Let me hide this to see if anybody's asking
Mm.
questions. Yeah, but some of the tools you need to you need postcards, or however you're going to communicate. Initially, get your reach out to the people.
Well, I was talking about more like the list, like on the
Oh,
screen,
oh,
like because people may
list.
actually talk about lists, but how exactly do I get this list, or where would this list be?
There's several services that sell a list, and I think I have that on right
Yeah,
here.
right on there. Yep, it's on there.
Prospectnow.com.
Hmm.
They sell a list. List Source. They sell lists. Hit Rate Solutions. They sell lists. So there's a number. Those are just three of them. I mean, you can go to your code enforcement office. They have lists of people who have been fined or even ticketed or gave warnings of the yard not being maintained. The property is abandoned and it's not secured. So I mean, doors are open, windows are open. Kids may be able to get in and hurt themselves, or squatters may be in there. Because if your house is abandoned and vacant, they want a secured, because they don't want it to be a hazard to anybody in the neighborhood,
Right.
and they don't want any, young kids and girls and saying junkies in there, because even though it's abandoned and vacant, it don't have to be a hazard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because some people may not mind living next to in a vacant house, but when there's all this other activity going on at that same house, then that's when it becomes an issue.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So you can get those lists, and some of those lists are inexpensive, but the cheaper the lists are, the more likely the data may not be correct.
Right.
You know.
Right. Right.
Um, you know, and you got to start just reaching out to folks in the industry. And because I bought lists from individuals, somebody tell me about somebody who they've had success with lists they bought from this guy. I bought it didn't have no success, and I don't know if it was the list or it was me, but if you're not consistent,
Yeah,
you can't make that determination because you got to do it for a certain period of time just to track your consistency and see what kind of feedback you're getting. I wasn't consistent enough.
there you go.
Yeah,
Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. Good info.
but postcards and letters. You get back to.
Yeah, postcards, letters, and then again, they texting out here now, so they
Yeah.
have different engines that you can use for those who are really thinking about it. They have different engines that you can use to be able to get your word out, so that you could try to get this money.
Yeah, and it's postcards, letters. It's not only texting, but they're Facebook ads. Because Facebook, you can actually narrow down so specific on an ad that it's almost scary
Mm.
that you can really find people. Like for instance, categories in a list when you're trying to buy one of these lists. It may be landlords who own 3 or more properties.
Mhm.
Those landlords who own 3 or more properties, they've owned those properties for more than 10 years.
Okay.
And those landlords who own 3 or more properties for more than 10 years who live out of state. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they may, in some people's mind, those landlords are tired of being landlords.
Right.
So
Right.
they're more likely to sell than someone who just bought a rental property last week.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
it can get really detailed, but you got to have a game plan going in.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense.
But Craigslist, call it landlords. You know what I'm saying? Because some landlords are tired of being landlords. You may be
Mhm.
able to find it that way.
Okay.
How do you find buyers? Once you perfect finding the house, finding the sellers, homeowners who want to sell a house. Now the second part of the transaction, you got to find somebody who want to buy the house that you just got put this contract on that you don't have the money to buy, that you just told this person we're gonna close in 14 days.
Yep. Yep.
So local real estate association, most of them are gonna have some heavyweight real estate investors who buys everything as long as the numbers make sense. And then you're gonna have some small guys who looking to buy some stuff as long as the numbers make sense too. So you always find buyers in those associations. Local meetups, now everything is online, so you can be at 2 or 3 meetups in a day because everything is right at your computer screen.
Right.
Um, Bandit signs. You see a lot of bandit signs say, we buy houses for cash, this, that, and the other. But on the flip side, you can put a sign up to say, I have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, single family resident for 50,000. Because the people who are going to call that sign are people who looking to buy houses. So when they call, you tell them, hey, I just sold that house, but what are you looking for? I can find you something. So therefore, you building your list of buyers because you are reverse psychology almost. You know what I'm saying? Dev, you there?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I'm listening. I mean, what you said made sense. I really didn't.
I lost you for a second.
No, I'm here. Of course, my stuff is choppy.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
yeah. So you just putting out as you were a seller.
Hmm.
So you just attracting buyers in a different way. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Now that you acting like you're a seller, so you're attracting buyers by acting like a seller. And now the properties, like now, people calling me every day about North Avenue, but the
Right.
property rented. But if I had other properties that wanted to be rented, now I got all these people still calling me, and it's
Right.
the same difference. You just put a sign out saying you got a house for sale at
Yeah.
a price that's unbeatable.
Yeah.
And when the folks buy you, you take their name and number. So next time you get a house with that type of deal, you call them up and say, "Hey, John, you called about the house I had the other day. I got this other house for sale. Are you still interested in buying houses?"
Right. Yeah. You got interested parties now. Now you're working with something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. The buyers are easy.
Hmm.
Finding the deal is the hard part of all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If
Real.
you can get
You can
proficient
find it,
skills, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You know what I'm saying? It's that's gold. You know,
but it ain't for everybody.
it ain't for everybody. It wasn't for me. You know,
So let's drill down, man. Talk about some of the keys to success.
the buys list. But the key is finding. And let me say this also.
Mhm.
If you make if you find other wholesalers, you can partner with them and say, hey, everything you get, send to me. And if you got a buyers list but no properties, if you got buyers but no properties to sell them, now if you find wholesalers who got properties and you guys can do some type of partnership. Hey, I got this buyer, you know what I'm saying? Let's split this commission, you know what I'm saying? This fee, 50-50 or whatever. Because if he got properties with no buyers and you got buyers without no properties, it's a perfect marriage, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right, for sure.
So you can perfect one side of it and let somebody else do the work on the other side,
Nice.
you know. But you must vet these buyers because just like how I just told you to put that sign out saying that you got this house that you don't have.
Yep.
They'll call you saying they're a buyer and they're not. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to tell them, hey, I need that pre-qualification letter from your lender. You know,
Nice.
or I need to see proof of funds. You know,
Right. Right.
and I mean, some people will give it to you, some people won't. Some people will give you something that ain't even theirs. But you got to ask that question because now they know that you serious about your business.
Right.
So
Right.
if they call you, if they see you got another house for sale, they won't be so in a rush to call you, knowing that their stuff is not in order.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because
One of
what you don't want is for them to tie your property up, and you already promised the seller, yeah, I'm closing in 14, 21 days. Now they
mhm.
tie your property up for 2 weeks, and they can buy anyway. And now the seller looking at you, and you only got a week to close. And 9 7 10, another buyer now can come in and close in a week.
Wow.
That's going to make you look bad in the seller's eye.
Mhm.
You know,
Let's talk about learning the market. One of the things that you have on here, on here that's pretty important is gentrification. And how does that work when it comes to wholesaling in real estate?
it's a how can I put that? It's a good thing for investors, but it's bad for the the folks in the neighborhood who's been there for a while
Okay.
who are on fixed income.
Hmm.
Because if let's say your grandmother was living in this house in the inner city for 25, 30 years, 40
Right.
years,
Right.
house may be paid off, but the grandkids are nowhere. I mean, they're nowhere near. You know what I'm saying? Grandmama just been there. Everybody in the neighborhood know her because she's been one of the pillars in the community.
Right.
But now gentrification happened. Her house may be 800,000 square feet,
Hmm.
but now the houses on her block, they're buying those rundown houses and building 25, 3,000 square foot houses. Now these houses 400,000, but grandma house need 50, 100,000 dollars worth of work
Hmm.
to even be 200,000 or 150 because the house has just been neglected for years.
Right.
So now her taxes are going to go up because these other houses are now driving the
Yeah.
taxes up. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now she got to make a decision. Now, do I sell my house to one of these? Because now she's getting these postcards. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we want to buy a house, this, that, and other. Or because Buddy over here has built this 3,000 square foot house right next door. He's probably knocking on the door, asking, if you ever want to sell your house, just let me know. You know, and that's how. If they say, "Yeah, I'll give you 70,000," She don't want anything on the house, and not knowing or not even talk to her kids so they can make sure that she's not getting taken advantage of.
Mm.
She sold the house for 70,000, and with $50 to $100,000 renovation, her house maybe 250.
Wow.
But it's not about, they don't care about the 70,000 that they just offered her, because they might tear the house down and build a 3,000. And if you look in East Atlanta, you
Hmm.
got some neighborhoods in East Atlanta right now, 400,000 or 500,000,
Yeah,
especially,
very, very expensive.
yeah, Kirkwood. I mean, some of
Kirkwood, yeah.
them 700,000. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah, Kirkwood is really expensive.
Yeah. So imagine giving somebody 70,000 square foot house, and you about to build a 3,000 square foot house, and it's gonna be worth 700,000. That's highway robbery at its finest.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if she can't afford to pay this $4,000 a year property tax, I mean, what is she to do? She gonna lose it anyway.
right, right. It's a dirty game, but it's that's how the rules are set, unfortunately.
And that all, and everything goes back to politics, because the local politicians could put something in place for seniors not to even feel that burden of the tax increase, just because developers coming in building these huge houses right next to their small houses.
Right, right.
But if that's who's greasing the politician's pocket, that's who they're gonna listen.
And that will be another conversation for another day. Hey, let's open it up for questions. See if anybody has going on in the chat. If not, we can keep it going for a few more, man. Let's try to wrap it up, DP, and give some gems before we end for the night and keep people wanting more for next week.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot to give them. I mean, because we got to go into the fix and flip. We got to go
Yeah,
into the buy and hold, the Section 8. And I mean, since we're doing this on a multi-week, we can even one day do the Airbnb.
yeah.
We can, it's so much that we can give them, but and this,
Airbnb, Airbnb may one of the be maybe one of the things we should talk about, because as you know, COVID restrictions are being lifted, people are going to want to travel, and I have a good feeling Airbnb is going to be in an upswing soon, if not already happening.
Airbnb, yeah, Airbnb is actually on the upswing, because once once people were getting out and about, people were kind of, what, had cabin fever. So
Mhm.
everybody wanted to start moving around, you know what I'm saying? And I think people were more comfortable in the Airbnb because you were separated from everybody else, because you're in your own house.
Right,
Being in a hotel, you got to walk through all these common spaces to get to your room, you
right.
know. So like the Airbnb has been doing well since this partial restriction it's been lifted, and now that a lot of people are getting vaccinated, I think that's helping a lot of people being able or wanting to move around more easily.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely some for us to look into. We may want to drop them gems on those who are watching next week. Um,
Yeah, let me.
but
Well, if you do wholesaling, make sure you have the mentality that you're going to get rejected. I would say 8 out of 10 times, if not more. You know what
right,
I'm saying? That's a given, without a doubt, because it's just like you. If somebody called you one time, you told this person no, and five other people call you about the same thing, you're going to be kind of irritated at some point.
I filled about two of them calls a day.
Yeah, yeah. So at some, and then you just stop answering them because you don't recognize the number, and you let it go to voicemail, and okay, and then they'll start texting you. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, and wholesaling can be a very profitable business, but you just got to be that person that's willing to go through it. I mean, you got to give it that time.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
and
go ahead.
so next week we're gonna talk about the financing part. How do you get financing to do these deals? How much money you got to bring to the table, because none of it's cheap. You know what I'm saying? The money isn't cheap. The amount of money you got to bring to the table isn't pennies. But they want you to have some skin in the game because they want you to follow through and finish the project. Because if you bring nothing to the table and you get into an issue, it's easy for you to walk away from the deal and be like, "Shit, I ain't lose nothing."
I
You
ain't
know,
losing it, right?
you're
Yeah,
gonna be jacked up for a minute, but you know.
yeah, for sure.
But they like if you got cash on the line, you're more likely to finish the project because you got too much invested.
You got too much invested, right? Yeah, you don't want to lose your bread. So
Yeah,
look, for those who are watching, thank you again. Make sure your paperwork and stuff is in order on your foundation, and make sure your foundation is solid. Your back end paperwork, all your insurance stuff. Make sure that's good. And then if you are thinking about wholesaling, you just got to have that mentality to do it. And again, reach out to us again on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Ask questions. We're here to help. We'll be able to drop any
and
gems.
we doing it for free. So we doing it for free.
And if we don't know it, we're not afraid to say we don't know, and we'll
Yeah,
find out. So
and
DP, what you
you
got
too,
for me?
Tony.
Go.
Nah, you know what I'm saying. I just want to say, wholesaling is a way you can actually make some money. Now it's a little bit saturated right now. You're gonna be in a field of a lot of people, but just like anything else, say if you want it, you can do it.
Yep. Yep.
So until next time,
All right. So for all those who are watching, thank you again. And like I say, in all that you do with positivity, creativity, and authenticity. This is Real Talk with DP and Dev. Peace, beautiful people.
peace.